If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune in to the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? Thank you for tuning in to another week, another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. I'm your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I'm your other host, Luke Farrell. And we couldn't do this episode without our friends over at the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis. They're the largest public funder of arts and art programming right here in St. Louis. And if you didn't know, more people travel to St. Louis to see the arts than they actually do sports. So although St. Louis is a sports town, it also is very much an arts town. So we're thankful for them. Of course, our friends over at Half Coast Studios producing an episode each and every week, and our friends over at Four Hands. And did you hear about the new podcast sponsor we just got?
Go ahead, tell them.
Oh, it's Mattress Direct, actually locally and family owned right here in St. Louis. They have 14 area locations because everybody's got to sleep somewhere, right?
Somewhere good.
So you might as well sleep on a Mattress Direct mattress. Shout out to those guys. They're family owned, celebrating their 90th anniversary this year.
Great. All right. You want to open it up today, Luke?
Yeah, I will open up the intro. So today we have a very special guest, somebody that's doing something very cool in St. Louis. You guys might have heard of it, but we have Josh Smith from Neon Greens.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you in St. Louis,
which
is not where you live. So we were talking a little bit off mic as we always do, but we always kind of get the ball rolling. Just tell us about you and your background, your upbringing. The St. Louis question is, where did you go to high school? But we'll skip that for the sake, and you can just dive into all things New York and all things Josh.
Well, so I did grow up in St. Louis, actually. Oh. Yeah, so I grew up in St. Louis. I lived here all through high school, and then I went to college in Pittsburgh. And then moved straight to New York and have been there for the past 12 years. So this is a big step, relocating back to my hometown and starting this business. I'm really excited to.
How does that feel to be like full? I mean, how long have you been gone from St. Louis?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's gotta be weird coming back from like New York, which is obviously, I know we are talking that you don't live necessarily like
in the hustle and bustle.
Yes, but like just transitioning from bigger city to now.
Yeah.
US.
Well, it's been so interesting. I mean, I came up with the idea for this business a while ago, and it's been percolating and adjusted and sort of, I've landed at the final or quote unquote the final version of it. Right. But it's been so interesting, like reacquainting myself with the city and seeing it as an adult. Mm-hmm. What has changed in the past 10 years? The dining scene has exploded. There's some really, really exciting and interesting food coming out of here. And just the neighborhoods that I never, frequented. And it's, I feel like I have a new passport book that I'm able to stamp.
I love that.
And it gives you this certain like energy because you're like, okay, I'm back here. I need to do everything that I didn't do over the past 10 years and like meet all these people, talk. So I want to hear a little bit more because growing up in St. Louis. So what did you do as a kid? Like kind of like tell us a little bit about your childhood because I know
cherished memory.
Yeah.
Well, so I was a theater nut, a theater nerd, theater kid. And so that was my life when I was here. I was heavily involved in all levels of theater from elementary school, staging plays in my basement with friends who would come over and, all the way up to high school. And that's what I studied in college and what I started doing when I moved to New York too. So I was really immersed in the theater scene here and worked at the Muni over the summers in between school. And
awesome.
So I was really immersed in as you say, the thriving and gigantic art scene in the city.
Right.
And so I went to Ladue. We lived sort of like halfway between Brentwood and Ladue near the Galleria. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of my home base for the first part of my life here.
What's been your favorite show that you were ever involved in, just even going through school?
Oh, that's so hard.
I know, right? Especially when you're like a theater, like, dare I say geek? Because that's how I am. I'm a theater geek. And I'm like, oh gosh, how do you even pick?
Right.
How do you pick?
I did, oh goodness. So my favorite show is Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
That's like my favorite
I've
musical
never
in the
seen
world.
that.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, really?
No, never.
It's the best.
Okay. I'll
See
add
the
it
movie.
to my list.
Highly
Okay.
recommend.
Okay.
I think they did it or they're doing it at the Muni this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
So now I
I'm
can
pretty sure
see
it's
it.
on their season. There you go.
Now we have a chance to go.
The premise, if you don't know, it's a killer plant that eats people.
I have, okay, this was on the trivia at, when we did the thing with Rack, when we had that table with Rack and we did that trivia night. That was one of the questions. And I
There you
remember
go.
being really intrigued.
And everybody was
by
like
that
looking at you
question.
like,
Yeah.
we're all just like,
You should know.
Hook it up. But yeah, I failed on that one. So, okay, cool.
Well, now for next time.
now we can
yeah,
go see it.
we'll go see them
Nice.
this year.
Yeah.
The Muni. Do a little summer day at the Muni. Can't
All
beat
the
that.
theater,
That's
all
perfect.
the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite. I did it. It was summer stock in a barn up in Connecticut. And it was, summer stock is so magical. It's very, gumshoe and building sets out of cardboard, but the product is very magical.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then transitioning with that being your passion to food, like how did that come about for you?
I have always had like a bit of an entrepreneurial sort of bug in my ear, like a little devil on my shoulder. And I've always had, over the years, I've had ideas. I'm a very process oriented person. So when it comes to all of my creative endeavors, I just love the process of making the piece, the process of the storytelling, the everything. It's getting to the final product that is so much fun for me. And so a lot of my early ideas entrepreneurially had to do with a process oriented, whether it's food or something like that. I had an idea for a tofu shop that would make its own tofu and, and serve it, which, who knows, maybe later.
One day.
Down the road. But
Never say never.
Exactly. So it really came out of the pandemic. So my boyfriend at the time and I, we were in New York and, it got hit real bad. We were lucky enough, we were able to go up to a tiny little cottage in Connecticut with our little Pomeranian.
I love that. I love it.
And wait it out. And, as toilet paper was flying off the shelves, I was like, well, what is going to happen to our food? So
Yes, that fear.
I know.
Oh, I remember that
Yeah.
fear.
And it wasn't hardcore, but it was kind of like, well, I don't really know where all my food comes from. Like it's this, could be part educational and, part self-serving at the same time. So I started gardening outside and that was a lot of fun. And then I sort of started getting into hydroponics and
Explain what that is.
so hydroponics, it's growing plants in a soilless medium. So it's basically, how like you can take a clipping of a plant, a leaf of a philodendron, you can clip it, you put it in a little thing of water and it grows roots.
Right.
Same idea.
Okay.
There are a lot of different methods of growing hydroponically. It's incredibly efficient. It uses 10% of the water that you'd use in normal farming, and it grows the plants in half the time.
Wow.
And so I started noodling with it. They have these fun little desktop kits that you can get. I'm sure you've seen on Amazon. It's like, with the LED light. Yeah. And I got one of those. And then months later, I had purchased like a bunch of industrial farm equiment from Iowa.
We're going all in now.
Just like
Shipped it up to Connecticut.
Yeah, right.
You're like, your boyfriend's like, what are you doing?
Excuse me. Yeah. Very much
a
that.
hobby.
Yeah.
Here we go. Taking off.
Yeah.
So I started and I nerded out. I got all these books, YouTube tutorials. There's a lot of DIYers. A lot of cannabis is also farmed hydroponically. Yeah. So it's, there's like a huge
That's when I heard about it. It was like hydroponic, like marijuana. And then I was like, okay. And then like now like doing it this way, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Because it looks like your, like the pictures you've posted of like the underground, like, or the things with all the lights and everything, like looks like a pot farm, like almost like how it used to be. And,
yeah.
And it's cool. So
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, and so what I started doing is I started with just 100 little sites. So it's basically, I had 10 troughs. Each trough had 10 holes in it, and you can grow 10 plants at a time. And I started experimenting with everything that I could think that would grow in there, that would work. I did, everything you could imagine normally, like lettuce, every kind of lettuce. I did mustard greens. I did tomatoes and peppers. I did, interesting vegetables like okra. I did like shiso, all this interesting stuff.
Even exotic stuff that you could just find.
Exactly. I love food. I've been in love with food my whole life.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm an artist first and foremost. And so it's a way to tell a story, and the medium varies, whether it's theater, film, television, a visual medium, or food, which is sort of the nexus of all of them, which is kind of beautiful.
That's cool. No, that's amazing. So even before starting to plant that way, when you were just you were in your cottage and you were like, I'm just gonna get comfortable.
Sounds so peaceful, by the way.
I know it does. It sounds
nice.
like a dream.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to grow?
Oh God, I love mustard greens.
Okay.
And it's so I feel like they get a bad rap just because, the other thing is all the food you get in the grocery store compared to what you can grow in your backyard, it's just leaps and bounds beyond. What you grow and, out of the ground, and you harvest it and you eat it, it's incredible. It tastes incredible, and you can so tell the difference.
It's more fulfilling too, because you're like, I tended to this. I grew it. I cared for it. Like we want to have a garden so bad, but I'm so scared of failing and overwatering or not. I don't know. I just want to grow some damn tomatoes.
Nature knows what it's doing. It'll help you out.
Okay, there we go.
So when you're talking about the grocery store, I think I read or heard something about you saying like you didn't know how long that's been there or like where it came from. Like
weeks.
It could have came from.
It takes
weeks.
Most of
for it to clear out.
Most of the produce, yeah. Well, so lettuce specifically, most of it is grown in California and Arizona. So if you're in New York and your lettuce is coming from California, that's almost 3,000 miles. Mm-hmm. It takes weeks to get there. They package it in nitrogenated packaging, so it's not oxygenated. It doesn't go bad as quickly. There are all these little shortcuts that they take, and really at the end of the day, it hurts the end consumer and the earth.
Right.
On a bigger scale, but centralized.
For them, it's just business. It's like, how many can we scale?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know if you know the slow food movement. It was a movement that started in the 80s. A lot of California chefs like Alice Waters, Chez Panisse, and some other Italian chefs that don't come to mind immediately, sort of started this organization. And it was about reacquainting people with how food actually should grow, with the natural aspect and the organic aspect, not organic with a capital O, but the organic aspect of food. And I think, from the 80s and moving forward, I really do feel like people have a renewed desire to understand where their food comes from, to have pride in locally grown food and locally sourced food. I just comes to mind like Bulrush is a great example of really putting foraging and local ingredients and flavors and food forward. But it's everywhere, and we're excited to be part of it.
So what are some of the detriments that people might not be aware of in terms of obviously like locally grown or just growing yourself versus picking off the shelf at the grocery store? Like that just people aren't even...
Well, nutritionally, you lose a lot. So, when you pick food off of the grocery store shelf that's been there forever, the other thing is it comes to the seeds also. We live in a town that has probably the largest concentration of seed technology professionals in the country, between Monsanto and the Danforth Center and lots of other investment. And there have been some real positives to that in creating crops that can be resistant to, diseases, fungi, pests, etc. But at the same time, we've been creating food that's hyper efficient. And sometimes when you create food that's hyper efficient, you lose a lot of the natural beauty of it when it comes to flavor and taste. And, you'll get carrots that are gigantic and huge, and the volume is large.
Right.
But if you get one of these delicate little heirloom carrots that have been grown by a farmer nearby, either across the river in Missouri, it's just leaps and bounds. And we're talking about, when we talk about a relation, an emotional relationship with food. And you think about growing it in the backyard, having a tangible relationship to it, that means so much.
fuels the soul.
Yeah.
We're big
Feeds
foodies
us
as
all.
well. And I'm big in entrepreneurship. We did an episode last week that was just kind of focused on business and entrepreneurship. And I get excited, not even about anything like there's never like any monetary goals set. It's more or less just I'm addicted to the process of building. And I'm like, I love building new things. And that's probably why like every 6 months or so, I get like another like
Crazy
side of
new
the
idea.
business. But
Yeah.
but it ends up working out because each time you do it, you get better and better at the processes that go into creating like just a business from scratch, for instance. So like Neon Greens comes about, you need brand guidelines, logos, but really you need a business plan,
Right.
because this isn't like an online store. This is a physical business. So this is a 2-part, let's just start with this part of the question. So when you were growing the food, were you cooking a lot before the pandemic, or were you guys eating? I mean, you were in New York, so you're probably eating out a little bit, but you're probably still cooking at home.
Yeah.
It's expensive to eat out there.
Absolutely. Yes.
So you were cooking. So you.
Oh yeah, I've been cooking my entire life. I grew up. My parents decided to become vegetarians when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old.
So you too, are you?
I was not vegetarian, but
okay.
they were like, "We're going to be vegetarian. We're going to cook vegetarian. Y'all can eat meat if you want,
But this is what we're going to be.
but this is what." Yeah, exactly. They were two, full-time, employed parents. They were both attorneys. They had, busy lives, and they were just tired of getting McDonald's all the time. So they were like, maybe if we would go vegetarian, we'll eat healthier, which, that's not necessarily the case if you go vegetarian, as we know. But it was an interesting thing, especially in the 90s. So it was a lot of like the first Boca Burger. I remember one Thanksgiving, we had the first tofurkey ever.
Really?
That ever came out.
And this was in the 90s?
This was in the 90s.
Because I was going to say, being vegetarian then, they were like oddballs at that point, because there wasn't that many people that was. Like now, it's like everybody tries it at least once.
Vegan, vegetarian.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, and even in St. Louis, I mean, there's so many options.
Yeah.
Pescatarian.
Absolutely. Lacto ovo, you name it all. Yeah. So it was interesting. So part of a reaction to that was, it was difficult for my parents to cook vegetarian, which was very specialized. So I, when I could and when I wanted, was a little bossy, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna cook dinner tonight, or I'm gonna, make lunch for myself, or what have you. And so I started doing a lot of that. I was addicted to the Food Network. Barefoot Contessa was my best friend.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Hannah Garden, she's the best. So I was obsessed. I mean, Iron Chef, I've seen every season of that. It's just addictive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's art.
it is.
Food is art.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's like, it's such an interesting circular journey. Just because it is art.
Yeah.
And it's been I've been, in the entertainment world for so long, and the similarities never cease to amaze me, just in
Wow.
producing a product for consumption
Sure.
in both ways.
Yeah.
So do you think, when the pandemic happened, that's when you moved and like started growing? You just were like probably a little bit mixed of bored, but also like you said, you wanted to educate yourself on like, maybe we need to like take this opportunity to figure out how to do this just in case.
Yeah.
Like what if we live on the cottage forever?
Exactly.
We got to figure out how to live.
Yeah.
So you started doing that, and then how soon after this? So let's just say in New York, it was probably like March 2020 is probably when you guys started moving. But like how soon after that was like the neon green, or probably not even neon greens, but it was something of that concept of like, hey, this would be really cool to bring. And did you originally think of bringing it to New York, or like what was that process of building?
Yeah, I kind of worked backwards, which was interesting. So I saw, in the news, there was all this empty retail space in New York. It was a ghost town, and all these leases were, there were good deals on commercial real estate. And I was thinking to myself, God, how long is it going to be like this? And there has to be some good that can come from this. There has to be a way to take advantage of this. And I started coming with a design for basically a modular hydroponic unit, similar to the ones that we're purchasing from Freight Farms, which they're incredible and do things that I could never do.
Right.
So I'm so glad that worked out. But the concept that I came up with was essentially a small enough unit that could fit through a door. You could roll it through a door, but you could gang them together. So almost think of like a server farm. So, you have standalone servers. You can grow it to 10 servers. You can grow it to, an entire floor of a building, right? And they're all synced together with data. With these plus data, you'd have nutrients and plumbing and electricity. And that's really, it's the same concept beyond that. So you'd be able to scale a vertical farm into a space in a modular way. And from there, I was like, well, that's going to take not right now.
You're like, that's cool.
Yeah, that
Maybe
sounds
some other time.
like a lot, yeah.
But the desire came from, there's wasted real estate and this food tastes so good, I have to share it with people. That was really the beginning of the journey. Was I would make salads and pickle tomatoes and do whatever. And I was like, why doesn't food taste like this? Like it should. And there's no reason it can't.
Yeah.
We just have to think a little bit differently about how we grow things in this country.
Are you a pioneer with this, or is there other people that are doing? I mean, I'm sure there's other people that are doing stuff similar. Or can you elaborate on?
Well, so I mean, I'm definitely not a hydroponic pioneer.
Yeah, no,
yeah. I don't know. We should fact check this. But as far as I know, this is the only quick serve concept that is vertically integrated that grows its own food on site in the country.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so interesting how many people we have on this podcast that we talk to that had created so much positive impact during that lockdown period. And
Right.
so many businesses, like our business, thrived through that. And not necessarily thrive, but ideas were sprouted and new strategies were created. It was a time for people to stop hustling for a second and then think of hey, what can I do? We have time. Remember how much time we used to have in our life? I wish we had that much time.
I
Right.
don't remember that time.
It was
no.
a different, I know it slowed down and was so fast at the same time. It was a different thing.
Yeah.
Well, you think about the Renaissance, the Renaissance was on the heels of the Black Plague. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. We're seeing all
That's
of this
right.
sort of sparking of a reemergence of.
Birth of all kinds of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
what made St. Louis become your choice for your concept?
So many reasons. I mean, the food scene is a huge plus here. It's of all the communities that I've been exposed to in food scenes across the country, it's so connected. Everyone's so kind and giving, and it's not competitive in a nasty way. Everyone wants to
cheers
support.
you on.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's an organism.
Yep.
I mean, that's the most human thing, and it's why I love cities. I mean, I'm living in, Neon Greetings is in the city. I'm going to be living in the city. I live in New York City right now. I'm relocating, but I love cities because, we're organisms and cities are just organisms of organisms. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So tell us about your choice of neighborhood for your location and things like that.
Sure. So I want to try and make the biggest impact possible. I had been looking for real estate for a long time. For what feels like forever, it was probably 9 months to a year.
Is it because you were trying to figure out the right fit and you were touring places and you're like, this just isn't it, or just actually finding the right building facility?
It's that.
Four
yeah.
walls.
It's such a tricky. I mean, there's so many requirements with the project. So we have it's part growing facility, so we're growing, and then we have an interstitial space where we're harvesting and processing all the food, all of the lettuce, and then we have the kitchen and the dining room, and we wanted outdoor seating. So there was a lot of okay, where can we put the farms? Where can we, how do we, Lincoln Log set this together?
Yeah.
And so I was looking in Targrove South, and I was looking, everywhere around there. I mean, I was looking, near Cherokee. I was looking in Southampton. I was looking, I wanted to be able to serve the SLU community and Cortex and BJC and be close to that sort of new hub that we're seeing, going east of that as well.
Yeah. And where people are on the go and doing things
Right.
and need a healthy meal to stop. Yep.
Exactly. So that was the genesis. I mean, also as an LGBTQ plus business owner, it's important to me to reestablish commercial success in the Grove and in a historically queer space, and Rise Coffee also being a queer safe haven. I think that's so important. So
Yeah,
I'm
beautiful.
definitely really happy to be part of that.
I think that's inspiring.
It's going to be great. And the Grove's the best.
Yeah.
I love the Grove.
it's such a vibrant neighborhood, but you're right. It's like, imagine that space being another bank or something like that. Like, it's just like, and that's, I was talking to somebody earlier in Webster and they were like, the space could have been a State Farm agency, but like we really worked hard to get it to become a staple for the city. So it's like, it's really just, taking up space in the neighborhood, but also being conscious of like, go into a neighborhood that, that you can see yourself impacting the community. And I think that you will have a huge impact there. Not only with the BJC and Cortex and all that, but just people like us that live down the street that are going to want to come get a grab and go. Order on the phone. If I could just walk in and grab it and leave, boom, done.
You're set.
Done. Very impatient guy over here.
You are. That's okay. So how did you come up with the name Neon Greens?
Well, so I wanted to redefine what salad means. So I think it's such a subjective experience, food is. Like, everyone has their own relationship with it, and they should create their own relationship with it. So part of what's unique about the business is we're really setting it up so it's almost like experiential. Like, it'll be sort of like the Willy Wonka of salad restaurants. Okay. But you get to see yourself in that space. You experience it as yourself, and you're part of the story because you're seeing it from seed to plate, and it's on your plate. So I wanted people to be able to basically create their own meaning within the name. So to me, neon means something that's vibrant. It's flashy. It is fresh and new. It has clean lines, but that's just me. Neon means, many things to other people. And I think of other salad chains, we have Sweet Green and Chopped and Just Salad. And when you think of the descriptors there, they're sort of telling you what the product is and what to think of it. And I want to allow the consumer to have a more personal and intimate relationship with it.
I view it as like neon light and like shedding a light on.
Yeah.
Here I go. Okay, right? Like shedding a light on the greens available, like the health, the industry, the food that you're putting, like the nourishment of the food that you're putting into your body.
Right.
I like
there
that.
You go.
I like
There's
that.
my,
I love
my
our new
bit.
spokesperson.
Yeah, I'll do your writing.
I love everything about, so like when I had just like stumbled, like we're an Instagram focused company anyways, but like I stumbled across the page before like any of the press had came out. I think I like made a post because I'm always like, because like we just make posts about new businesses and whatnot.
Sure.
But like we made a post about it, but then I was like really instantly drawn to the branding and like that energy that you created in the branding, and whoever you worked with that did an amazing job with all that, but it just fits in where you're actually going as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah, incredible branding. I just love like the green, obviously the pink, and then just like, I think it's
such a fun process
on your windows too. Like even like how everything just looks like it just pops. That's it. And then the place you're at,
welcoming.
Rise Coffee was such a great spot that we used to hang out at, and just sitting there, and it just felt like you were at somebody's house, and like, it was just.
I know.
I loved Rise.
Me too.
I was there last week.
For
their last week.
The last week there. I think you meant last week. I was like, they've been closed for a while.
I was there on their last week.
I remember you went when they made that
After
post,
yoga.
and you were like, and you
Aw.
went. So let's learn a little bit more about the vertical farming. So as us, we're obviously not farmers. We live in the city, which you're going to be a farmer in the city now. But the vertical farming, working with freight farms, tell us about that relationship, because you originally wanted to build something like this yourself.
Right.
And then you just was like, hey, I'm going to let the pros do this.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people that do it. There are a lot of different products out there. So there's, these are modular farms. So it's essentially the size of a shipping container. It's not technically a shipping container, but it's the size of one. It's completely climate controlled. It has basically 4 vertical rows going all the way back, of troughs. And so on the troughs, you can grow, when will this come out?
This will be coming out next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a giveaway right now.
Yeah.
Let's guess how many plants can be grown. So I was going to.
So May 10th.
May 10th.
This will
Okay.
come out May 10th.
I won't give it away, but we can grow a lot of lettuce. And
Smart.
so there's the rows of lettuce, and then we have LED lights that are right next to them. So vertical farming, just as a term, it just means that you're taking advantage of height. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the plants grow vertically or the troughs are vertical. There's some vertical farming that's just, stacked trays.
Yeah.
So this product is great. It is incredibly efficient when it comes to the space that it uses. And they've been just so great so far. We have yet to get them up and running, but hopefully very soon we will. And we're going to start growing before we open. Actually, our plans are to start growing and have a presence at farmers markets, do some pop-ups so people can try the lettuce and herbs, and sort of let people experience it that way.
Grassroots marketing that way. Like just get out there and have people try it and say, oh, let's keep that. So as you're doing that, you're probably working on the menu and developing all that stuff. So can you give us any sneak peeks about what to expect on the menu, or is it's probably just ever changing too?
We're close to done with it. Actually, that was sort of an intense past 2 months was all the menu development. So I was in Chicago. We were doing our final testing in Chicago. That's where one of the culinary team members is stationed at a restaurant there. So we were working out of there. I think the one that I'm most excited about actually is we're doing an Osage salad. Okay. So it's inspired by all of the ingredients that Osage people used in this region historically. And it's my favorite salad on the menu. It tastes so good. It's actually the only thing that's doesn't quite align is there's a roasted red pepper dressing, which departs a little bit from what would have been used, but it's really good. Yeah, it has leeks and corn and.
See, people it's so funny. I feel like recently, actually, I just made a Pinterest board on salads, okay? Because I had a friend who was like, you can do so much with salad. And for me, salad's always been dare I say, lettuce, tomato, some cheese. And I'm and it's a salad. And I don't do ranch, but balsamic, and I'm there's so many creative, you can put garbanzo beans in salad. You can do cucumber.
You've been making some really good ones lately at home.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm there's so much you can toss into a salad. Oh my God.
Watermelon. We're doing a watermelon panzanella seasonally. That will be very, very good. Wow. Very excited about that.
So is your menu, and I probably should know this, but is it all vegan, vegetarian, or are you going to be doing protein options?
4, 4, and 4. So it's going to be, 4 carnivorous salads, 4 vegetarian and 4 vegan.
Oh, wow.
However, every salad can be made vegan or vegetarian. You can just swap out a protein or a topping.
And then what about, I guess dressings,
everything you can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, so every salad has its own custom dressing that's created for it. Wow. So it's all, crafted.
Who would have thought you'd get so excited about a salad?
I wouldn't, but I'm stoked about this. Is this going to be I'm trying to compare it to something, but like you said, it's it's going to be a fast casual type, go up, order your salad, get a dressing that they have, or swap it out with the one.
Exactly.
But all of them are going to be built up on the board. It's going to be bright and
100%.
Yeah.
So is there an option then to do a build your own?
Totally.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So you have some flexibility.
Yeah.
And take a little from each.
When you say seed to plate, that's daily pretty much, or just, depending.
Every day. Yeah.
Every day.
So part of what we're doing, when I say, the Willy Wonka of salad restaurant, we're actually, the 2 facilities are physically going to be attached. So in the lot that's next door, where there was some outdoor seating, that's going to be our growing facility and harvest facility. Mm-hmm. We're going to poke a hole in the side wall. We're going to have a conveyor belt system that goes from the growing facility over the heads of everyone queuing in line into the kitchen. There's going to be a vertical conveyor that brings it down to the service area, and then it'll go on the line.
Right onto the plate. So they'll get to literally see their, somebody waiting will see their salad.
Exactly.
And so you'll have staff working in each, obviously you'll have staff in the
farm staff. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. So what, this is crazy. This is
I know, this is crazy.
I knew it was dope, but this is super dope.
Oh.
And super dope. But I think that obviously this is something let's get this open, but this is something very scalable that you can offer. Is that a goal of yours, is to scale this? Okay.
Yeah. That's sort of the, my aha moment being I want more people to eat food like this.
Yeah.
There has to be a way to make it scalable. And thankfully it is. All of it's kind of designed in a way that can be, future iterations are hopefully going to be all built from scratch.
Yeah.
Just because you have a little more control. And it's a little cheaper actually, instead of doing a full build out.
Yeah.
That's the hope and the plan.
Would you consider I guess partnering with other restaurants in St. Louis to kind of offer, obviously, your produce to what am I trying to say? To other chefs.
Wholesale, like collabs.
Yeah, collabs, I guess.
Yeah,
Partnerships.
I think we're going to start a little bit before the restaurant is up and running. That's definitely, part of it is to partner. And we're actually planning on doing the reverse of that.
Okay.
So bringing people in.
Yeah.
So every season, we're going to have a chef-crafted salad that'll be partner with the St. Louis restaurant.
Awesome.
Great
so
idea.
our first one, I'm not going to announce them just yet because I'll let our social team do that. But
You can tell us off air. And keep a secret.
It's going to be, did you guys go to CPK growing up? California Pizza Kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I didn't know it as CPK. I wasn't that cool.
I didn't
live by the Galleria like you. So
I didn't go that often, but yeah, definitely.
Did you ever have the barbecue Thai chicken pizza?
Gosh, I don't know.
Okay. It's
But
like
it
a
sounds
cult
delicious.
thing.
It's a cult thing.
It's a cult
It's like
thing.
Charlie's sub that they used to do. Like Charlie's
Right.
used to have that cult sub. that they had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do a version of that, but as a salad. So it's going to be a barbecue Thai chicken salad.
That sounds really good.
And we're going to partner with a local barbecue joint to
Okay.
do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
That
I
smoked
like it.
chicken.
Oh my
Ooh,
God.
That's going to be so cool. So
That'd be good.
Great.
how does this all tie in? Because you say you're big on storytelling, and that's a big part of entrepreneurship. Is
Yeah.
if you don't have a story to tell, you're just operating, but
Right.
you're actually bigger than just operating. And so tell us a little bit about the storytelling process that you can portray just through this system that you're building.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the goal is for people to have a bigger relationship with their food. And I want people to know where their food comes from. So really, when we talk about seed to plate, it is about embracing sort of a radical transparency, if you will. It's creating a business with, only windows, no walls. And that's what we're doing really with the storytelling aspect. So with making it all visible, that's the idea. Yeah. It's the whole conveyor belt thing. It's the processing facility.
Seeing it all.
In addition to that, we're partnering with local farmers. So everything, we're growing all of our greens in house, and then all of the toppings that go on top are going to be mostly sourced from Missouri farmers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we will be highlighting the farms and the farmers that are contributing to the salads. So there'll just be, it'll be a full novel.
Are you considering doing like tours?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I wanted to ask that too, but I was like, I don't know if it's
I'm just thinking of like even anytime we've
for
gone to a
schools and stuff like
or
that.
anytime we've gone to a brewery, like you get to see the process of even like
Right.
how the beer is put into the can. And so I think that would be really cool for people to see
Absolutely.
behind the scenes of the action and kind of pull that storytelling out too.
That and an educational aspect are absolutely things we're working on. Really
Nice.
excited about.
Yeah,
Great.
that's
Yeah.
going to be
Awesome.
incredible. So what type of staff, like you said, you're working with a culinary director. Obviously, you're going to be working on this pretty hard as well.
We'll be making salads on the line.
And that's the most beautiful part about it.
Yeah.
So like, tell us about the team that you're building and stuff like that.
So it's an interesting structure because it's sort of, it's a quick serve. So it's a restaurant and a farm at the same time. So we're kind of dividing operations that way. So there's a farm and a farm manager and farm staff who will be working with the manager to make sure that everything's cultivated the way that they need to be, at what rate they need to be growing. That's the other tricky thing that's about this is that you actually have to serve a restaurant like this, you have to offset your growing. So what we need to do is we plant every day trying to anticipate the yields that we'll need for the consumer base 30 to 35 days from then. So it's a rolling plant. So every day you're planting lettuce.
Wow.
It's a little bit, you're planting maybe like 200 little things or 150 depending on output.
Yeah.
But that's the tricky part. So there's a whole separate team, the agricultural team for that. And then we have the restaurant staff. So it's your typical, general manager, assistant general manager, prep cooks, line, point of sale, all that good stuff.
Wow, that's crazy. So you have to forecast because you're like,
That's a challenge.
so like you're super busy when you open and then you weather storms and then it's like, how do you forecast what your sale, or you just sell out like, like a barbecue restaurant does. It's like, we're sold out. It's 6 o'clock. We're like, what?
Right.
That would happen a lot.
It's funny. I've dealt with spreadsheets and budgets in my life, just coming, in the film and TV world, it's very,
Numbers heavy.
Very numbers heavy. Yeah. And so I'm not a stranger to it, but when I was creating the pro forma for the business, I send it to people and they're like, this is the craziest pro forma I've ever seen in my life, because it's all based on lettuce yields. Mm-hmm. And I work backwards from there. So the top of the line is actually output and capacity of the farms. Mm-hmm. And it all trickles down from there.
Okay. So you start just kind of how you built the business. You started with that and now you're working its way down because it all comes down to we need the lettuce.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So we try not to ask about opening dates just because we know how business goes. Because trust me, we will set dates in mind. I'm like, don't say that out loud to anyone because you know how things go. But how else can people, I know you were talking about the pop-ups. So with, especially it's summer now, and I'm pretty sure today is Tower Grove's first Tuesday market. So I know the markets are opening back up. When are you going to be in there that people can actually go support and get a taste?
Later this summer, we'll definitely be announcing it on Instagram and all the socials. Okay. That's when we'll start making a presence. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, we'll definitely be open this year. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, great. Stay tuned, guys.
That's amazing. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the interior design stuff because I'm excited because I know it's going to be amazing. So is there anything that you can share with us of any special programming, like interior design aspects that you guys have already kind of set in stone and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, it was we started with material finishes. The layout is essentially going to be very similar to what Rise was. We're kind of, vibing on the long service line that they had in the front that's going to wrap around. We're going to add a big soffit above that'll be lit up that'll almost be reminiscent of greenhouse windows. Because I really want the spaces to relate to each other, the sort of processing area and the interior of the restaurant. A lot of wood finishes, some funky light fixtures.
Neon lights.
Clean and industrial kind of.
Yeah.
Neon signs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. And then some of the fun branding, which I just, the art director who worked on that was just phenomenal. And that process was great. And a lot of that actually was inspired by Art Nouveau designs, which is, I just love it because it's kind of a design Easter egg, because Art Nouveau really is an organic rendering of something very technical. Okay. So the type is very technical, the kerning that you have and everything with that. But by adding an Art Nouveau form, it becomes organic. Mm-hmm. So it's the technical type with an organic overlay, if you will, that's the project. It's something that's very technical, hydroponic farming, but it's organic. We're growing lettuce.
Yeah. That's I can't wait. First of all, I hope that, those farmer markets let us know. I mean, we'll obviously be on social, but we'll pop up. We live right by the park. So.
And you'll tell us so we can promote it, so we can get you out there.
We need to come to these taste testings, but you're going to crush it. We know that. Obviously, this is a huge new challenge for you. So I appreciate you coming to St. Louis to do this.
Yeah.
I think there's something special about starting something like this in St. Louis, the Midwest, and this, this culture that we're building here in St. Louis of, people are doing things here and we need to talk about it on a national scale. So.
Yeah.
So in terms too of the challenges and having a business, it's hard and there's ups and downs. What does your support system look like to just help you through the lows that can come with owning a business? Absolutely. And then just be right there with you with the highs? Yeah.
Well, I'm leaving a great friend base in New York who, all of them have said they want to be here for the opening and they're going to visit, and which is so nice. And beyond that, I have relationships new and old that I've maintained and forged in St. Louis. And, the restaurant and entrepreneurial community in here has been so lovely and giving and embracing. I have a lot of shoulders to, lean on, and my family's here. That was another really big part of it is a lot of us with COVID and the pandemic have sort of reassessed what's important relationship wise in our lives and how family plays into it. And that was a big driver too.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Well, welcome home.
Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly.
We do have one more question we typically ask, and I know we're kind of putting you on the spot here, but it is the STL bucket list show.
Yes.
But the STL bucket list is basically our idea of an STL bucket list is our favorite spots and things to do in St. Louis. It's not like bucket list things like you have to do before you go away or whatever, but
You die.
I don't like to say that word, but our idea of a bucket list and the whole reason we started the brand was to highlight the people, places, and things that make St. Louis special. So if your friends are coming in from New York, what are a few spots that you're going to bring them as like a bucket list spot to do in St. Louis?
Let's see. Honestly, I just went to Bar Moro, and that place is killer.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
I love the like point of view and the storytelling aspect there, and I love
the energy
Sherry
there is
too,
amazing.
and like
if you love Sherry, then
I love Sherry. Oh my god, it's so, and I love that he's like exposing people to it in a new and interesting and different way.
Yeah.
Bar Moro, I love Little Fox. That's one of my favorite haunts, and I love the owners. They're like incredible and make great food, and I love the botanical garden.
The best.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
It's like such a great resource. All the free stuff in St. Louis. I mean, that's like I grew up with my mom always saying to me like, you don't know how good everything's free here. And,
No, really.
and it really,
you're like, I miss that.
I know. Yeah, I mean, the art museum, right? The art museum's great. The zoo is lovely, and like it's just Forest Park is a treasure. It's really, really I enjoy it a lot.
Well said.
It's nice. You're going to be really close to the park.
Yeah,
too.
I'm excited.
That's awesome. So yeah, guys, check it out. We're going to drop all the tags, everything like that, so people can do it. But this episode really is just to educate you guys on what's going on in St. Louis and the things that are happening.
Big things coming.
Thanks again for tuning in. Of course, shout out to our friends over at the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis. The entire team, what they do for the St. Louis arts community is inspiring and really helping us to put on an episode every single week because they believe in what we do as well.
And then to end it, how can people find you, support you on all social platforms?
Yeah, Neon Greens STL. The website is neongreens.com, and drive by, take a look. It's things are in progress, and we're excited to see y'all soon.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys for listening.
All right, see you next week.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.